That reality, as much as we complain about this sort of stuff, culture finds the culprit more interesting than the victim because there's always a story about the culprit. We have names: Arthur Daniels, Sylvia Frazier, Kathleen Gard, Kenneth Proctor, Michael Arnold, all these poor people that are dead. But they just to the producers, they're not as interesting because they didn't commit the crime.
Well, so this only happened on Monday. Today is Wednesday. In the first day, we didn't even have the names of the victims. The media didn't have the names of the victims until late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. And the truth is, the good guys, the victims, they never get enough attention, ever. That's reality. If you think of the stories we've done about Christians being attacked in Muslim countries, like in Nigeria, nobody ever talks about the Christian missionary. We only see the burning building, and then we see pictures of terrorists, and then we yell about it, but we don't talk about the actual people who were killed. Partly, I think that is reality. I also think that on this one, people have moved on pretty quickly. If you look at the front pages of all the major newspapers today, it's only Wednesday, and he's only on the front page of one of the major newspapers we have here.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we went past this releasing mental health people in California.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, please, go ahead.
No, I was going to point to what Charles Krauthammer had said last night. He's a psychiatrist, so he has some fairly substantial experience in this topic. This is him about losing the ability to deal with people who have psychiatric illness.
One problem that we have, 50 years ago, if the cops arrived on the scene and you told them all that, they would have taken you to the emergency room, and as a psychiatrist, I would have been on duty, and I would have committed him for 2 weeks of treatment, because that person clearly was having a psychotic episode. But today, because of this idea of civil liberties, which I respect, we don't do that anymore, and we have people at large who can be dangerous.
So what do you make of that? He agrees that it's wrong to incarcerate somebody against their will, even if, because they're mentally ill, they refuse to be incarcerated.
Well, he's talking about people that they bring in now on crimes. What I was referring to are people who are already in mental institutions in California who were just released and went out to the streets. And then, as we know, they committed a number of crimes. You can see them around here. California was a start, but then it spread across the country. The civil liberties people combined with conservatives who didn't want to spend the money on these mental health institutions, got them on the street, and it's a real problem.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, nobody's innocent in this. I think that there were movements for patient activism that were in agreement with people who didn't want to spend money. And so they both kind of pushed this movement out, and there were people out in the street. There was also the assumption that communities would be able to handle them. But that assumption was wrong, because our communities have enough issues dealing with themselves, I guess. And
families have had a hard time because, say you have somebody that's mentally ill in your family, and you lose track of them, right? And they go off on their own. You can't compel them. You can't institutionalize them yourself. So it could be that there needs to be some changes in that particular part of the law. I think that the Veterans Administration is going to. They have a lot of problems. They have this guy, this Alexis guy, said that he had PTSD. Then he goes back. He went to the Veterans Administration in August 23rd, just a few weeks ago, asking for help. He can't sleep. He's got problems. He's hearing things. They give him some medicine, tell him to come back in 2 weeks. I'm sure that they have thousands of people like this coming through all the time. And how do you make the judgment call of which one are you going to put, as Charles suggested, put somebody into an institution for 2 weeks? I don't know how you determine it.
Yeah, Eric, is it just human error that somebody just screwed up along the way?
Yes, and also it's the PC society. People are worried about offending people with issues. If you have mental issues, and you're going to be put behind there into hospital against your will. Really, there should be some database for that, and I'm pretty sure there is on a state-to-state basis, but there's no way to share that data across state lines, and I think that's part of the problem, because when you talk about the left saying, but these people are ill and they're getting guns, well, they wouldn't if there was some way to share that data.
But how does that square, though, with the Fourth Amendment? I mean, I do think that there is a civil liberties argument to be made about privacy. We've spent the summer talking about that, so I don't see how you make a determination when it comes to...
Because once it's adjudicated, like once a judge says against your will, Bowling, you're going to this institution, at that point, you've set a red flag off saying that you're dangerous. And at that point...
But what if they just come after you for your politics?
You're a criminal.
What if they just say, like, you're a right-wing nut, so we're putting you in the institution?
Well, that would be. I'd help contribute to building those. A lot
like the IRS.
You know,
Right.
I hate to say this, I probably it's not going to be very popular, but if you notice that the families of these people who do these things are often they're shocked, they're stigmatized for the rest of their lives because they're associated with this person, and I don't think we give enough time recognizing that there are a lot of them who are out there who are also victims in their own way.
Mm-hmm. Well, the mother of the killer came out and was horribly sick, and she did a press conference earlier today. You want to look at the coverage of the press. There were a lot of red faces over getting a lot of stuff wrong, particularly about the name of the killer and also the weapon being used. The Daily News ran this cover and also kept a column by Mike Lupica up for a long, long time after they found out that it wasn't the same gun. The AR-15 rifle. It wasn't that gun, but they still did this, and they still kept up Lupica, who's not a very bright fellow. Poor man, Bob Costas.
Chuck Todd tweeted the name, the wrong name of the shooter, and you know that stayed on Twitter for a while. Then NBC pulled it back. Piers Morgan goes and spends a whole lot of time on here saying, "There's that darn AR-15." The AR-15 probably saved some lives. The AR-15 was used by some of the campus police that were on scene and maybe stopped some of the carnage towards the end of it. So their haste to be first precedes their interest in being right, and that's a problem.
Yeah, you'd rather be second or third and right than first and wrong.